So firstly, thank you very much for having invited me for this conversation. I've just got a few slides which I thought might prompt a discussion around the idea of implanted technologies. My background is I'm head of the North at Candesic. Candesic is a management consultancy firm based in principally in London. I lead our practice outside of London in Manchester. It's about 35 of us, and we work across healthcare, life sciences, and of course medical technology as well, which is very much at the heart of what I want to talk about today. I'm also lecturer of medicine at the University of Oxford, where I focus on teaching anatomy, fortunately for operating on myself, but also teaching students about how to use software and technology in their own clinical practice. I also teach neuroscience at Stanford University, both at the Stanford programme in the UK, so the students who take semesters out to come to the University of Oxford, but also in the United States as well, where my focus is on looking at rodent behaviours in response to endorphin stimuli. But today I'm going to be talking about implants, and I think as has been mentioned, this came about because I posted on LinkedIn the fact that I've got one particularly fun party trick, which is the ability to pay for things using just my hand, a chip implanted in it. And with the increase in the United Kingdom of the contactless payment limit to £100, this is an increasingly dangerous party trick to have. It does always, I must say, seem to be my round, the excuse being that everyone wants to see the chip and absolutely nothing to do with the fact they want free beer. So what I'd just like to do is take a little bit of a step back in talking about implanted technologies. We've come a very long way in terms of this technology, and very recently as well. What you can see here is actually not a subdermal implant. This is an eyeball replacement, and it's basically a little camera that a filmmaker had his own eye removed and instead had this device placed in, and so he can, with one of his eyes, with his right eye, he can film what's going on. And so we really are on the cusp of this kind of cyborg transformation, I think. I'm really excited about the union between silicon and carbon, basically, the way in which we will increasingly be compensating for deficits in our own bodies, but also augmenting our own functions with implants. And whilst this is a very sort of potentially disturbing eyeball replacement, you actually see on the top right-hand side there the sorts of chips that I've got implanted in my own body. They're about the size of 2 grains of rice for the most part, so very innocuous. And unless you saw me paying for something or opening a door or something with a wave of my hand, your conclusion would either be that I was magic or indeed that it was all smoke and mirrors. My interest really in implants started a very long time ago, the beginning of the 20th. An academic at the University of Oxford. I was just doing my PhD then at that time, and I was working in a lab group led by Professor John Stiles and Professor Tipu Aziz, and we were pioneering the use of deep brain stimulation in Parkinson's disease. I'm going to talk a bit more about deep brain stimulation throughout this talk, but basically it involves implanting electrodes into the brain, which are powered by a pacemaker-style battery that resides in your chest, just above your nipple. And these had really transformative effects on our patients' lives. So it combined my two passions of neuroscience and technology. And since that time, I've sort of continued to work in that field, but it's only been over the last 2 or 3 years that the technology has advanced such that I've been able to start experimenting on myself, really, and seeing what the limits of this sort of implanted technology are.